Hi, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Celebrate Brave podcast. I get to share with you a very special person, one of my Colorado clients. I live in Colorado too, just in case you missed that part. Erin O'Leary. Now, Erin is an IT director for a pharmacy and drug discovery company. She lives in Colorado. She's got some kiddos. And I think probably my biggest memory of us working together was how loudly I'd laugh. There was two or three times that my husband was like, "Can you not laugh so loud during session?" And I'm like, "Well, we get going." So hi, Erin, welcome.
Hello, Nicole. Nice to be here. Thank you.
Now, is there anything that I missed or that you wanted to add?
No, I guess I would just clarify. I consider the company I work for a small pharmaceutical and drug discovery company. I think you said
Okay.
pharmacy. So we don't work
Oh, did
directly with any
I?
pharmacies. We have discovered some small molecules for kidney and liver and thyroid cancer over the years.
Oh, thank you. That is really cool. My sister is, as we're recording, is upstairs and she is wrapping up her pharmacy degree. And I
Oh,
think
yeah,
that's where it slipped
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Woof. Okay. Well, very exciting. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate it. So I know a good bit about you, but I'm so excited to hear about the brave story you are going to share with all of our listeners.
Okay. Well, I came to you, I guess it was probably 9 months ago or so, because I was so completely overwhelmed at work.
Yeah.
You like to tell me that I used to have 9 jobs. Um,
I mean, to be fair, I was like, "So what is your role?" And you would tell me, I'd be like, "Okay, that's one. Wait, what, that and that?" And at some point, I got my massive whiteboard out. I have a double-sided whiteboard for everybody who hasn't seen videos yet, and started writing it out. And I was like, "Wait, but that's nine. That's nine jobs." Of course, you're overwhelmed. That's amazing. And I mean, to be fair, it's a high growth company too, right? So,
yeah, and we were growing, in terms of number of employees, just everything was changing very rapidly.
yes.
And I had gone to my boss and was like, okay, I've been in this role for a couple of years. I want a promotion to, what do I have to do? And he came back with this kind of like, oh, you just have to wait answer. And that was like the thing
Mm,
that pushed me over the edge. And I was like, I got to do something about this. So,
yeah.
somehow I had heard about you and I was like, I'm going to reach out and talk to a couple different coaches. And we had our little consult and, that turned into to coaching. And even though I think I approached you with this, like, I want a promotion, I need to learn how to manage my people, but I was also having some really stressful interactions with some of my direct reports. And so I was
Yeah.
like, I need to learn how to manage people better. I need to do all this. And, my original goal was, okay, I need to be a senior director and let's get this done. But I think in the working with you, it really, I let that sort of societal pressure of like, you always have to go for the next position to like fade into the background. And towards the end of it, I'm leaning towards a different phase now and wanting to step back from work for a while, whether people want to call that retirement or just a break or a sabbatical or whatever. And so now I spend more of my mental anxiety counting down, or when I work, when I'm not happy at work, I have this little counter and I count down the months that I have left. Um, yeah, so that's my newer goal, is to sort of disengage from the high stress. And I travel for work too, so
Yeah.
high stress, high travel.
Yeah.
Time for a new phase, maybe.
Yeah. Or just a slightly different phase too, right? Because you just listed out retirement, sabbatical, step back, like maybe a different shift, but also being kind to yourself as you're doing an amazing job. Right. So, like, I know from our work together, you get incredibly positive feedback. So it's not like, it's not working. It's like, oh, I was carrying this huge, and now I'm telling my story. I was carrying this huge pressure to get to that next level and that next level and that next level. But actually, I didn't want to be doing that work. And I didn't want to constantly be on the road. I wanted to be doing things that mattered, that made a difference, and that shifted things. And I still remember the moment when you just considered, well, maybe it's not about that next thing. Maybe it's about making where I am right now less stressful and more interesting. And it was like, I mean, you and I, we are gorgeous human beings, but it was like 20 pounds of just pressure just
Yeah.
melted off of your face and your shoulders. It was like, wait, oh, I don't have to conform to this. I can actually like be in more balance.
Yeah. And you know, there was a few different things all sort of happened at the same time. I mean, I had my previous boss, he was awesome. You know, one of the
Yeah.
things that was so great about him was that he believed in me so thoroughly. I mean, that was part of his like overwhelming me with stuff to do because he just thought I could do it all, right? Like I can give it
Yes.
to her, she'll do it well. But it coincided with the timing of when I hired you that there was a huge change at my work where that VP got replaced pretty
Hmm.
abruptly and surprisingly. And so I had to, that was a big mental shift or a
Yeah.
professional shift for me. It meant a lot of changes in the workplace. And it was a lot for me to work through with you during
Yeah.
that time.
Yes. I remember. Yeah. It's a wild, yeah, it's so much.
I
And
don't know
it,
how I would have gotten through the last like those 6 months without you. So
oh,
it was,
thank
you know,
you.
it's not my style at all to like ask for help. I mean, I think that's how I got to this like super stressed out, overworked place to begin with.
Yeah.
But the change and this everything that was happening during those 6 months, I don't know. Who knows what would have happened if I didn't have my
Yeah.
weekly talk in circles with Nicole.
Talk in circles. That's hilarious. Yeah. I mean, so I agree with your former lead. You can do anything and you can do everything. And your life story and the fact that you were doing so many different roles and you had this team that was growing, it was shrinking, it was great, it was doing this, it was doing that, and then all the like you would have gotten through the 6 months. It just would have been a lot more stressful and a lot more confusing, I think, because you said talking in circles, but actually like you're so clear and you're so driven. It's just, I think you also know you can do anything. And so when an idea pops up, you're like, oh yeah, I can do that. And oh yeah, I can do that. And I can do that because you can. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think now, you know, the idea that's popping up and that I'm trying to pursue is you know, how do I step back from this fully stressful and engaging professional career and maybe go
Yeah.
into more of a time period of life where it's not professionally focused. It's maybe you know, what are some of the personal things that I want to do for a little
Yeah.
while and focus on that. And it coincides a little bit with my kids are almost grown, right? They're one of them's finished high school, the
Yes.
other one's almost finished high school. And so I'm like, ooh, you know, let's go do some Erin stuff for a while.
Yeah. And that was something that I'm not sure if you know this, but that's something that you really inspired me in. Because you went to like a music festival, bluegrass, something. You went up to a big hiking adventure, which sounded so cool. Where else did you go? Hawaii? I mean,
Yeah.
you really were like, okay, I'm taking this seriously. What do I want to do with my free time? And then you were putting signs up in your yard that were super fun, and you were decorating your house at the same time. And no, not decorating, you were renovating your house at the same time. Like,
Oh yeah, we usually have
yes.
like a tiling project. We had a tiling project going on.
Oh my gosh. So, like, what do you think? Because we've talked a lot about the external things that led to this brave choice of evaluating, like, what is it that I want to do, and how many things were going on outside of you. at the same time at work and your kids are aging. What do you think that you did in response to all of these shifts that helped you navigate it and have less stress and quite frankly to work less as well?
Yeah, I think it's a mental shift of putting yourself or myself as a priority, right? I think it's
Mm,
easy to get, as a mom, as a wife, as an employee, it's really easy to get where you're like pleasing everybody else first. You're doing all that important stuff first. And the what's important for you is somewhere down, in the fourth or fifth time slot there. So around the same time that you and I started working together, I just went hog wild and hired all kinds of people.
I love it. I love it.
Erin focus time now. So I hired you for the professional stuff. I hired a nutrition person, and so I worked with her in like making the time to make sure I walk the dog around the block. I mean, and I think when I think about like the wellness habits that I have formed with her in this same time period. So, I mean, my diet's better, my exercise is better. I don't have 9 jobs at work anymore. Maybe I have 2 or 3 now. And like, so I do occasionally stop and just think like, oh, everything is simpler now. Everything is running a little bit smoother. Definitely more relaxed. I mean, I still, there's we've talked about this a little bit, you don't get these places without having some of that professional academic drives and things like that. So sometimes it's really hard to turn it off.
Yeah.
But now I have a different little, script to run in my head. I've got sticky notes with Nicoleisms posted up on my monitor, and I just like try to remind myself of those things if I get sidetracked into taking something too seriously.
Nicoleisms. I've never heard it, but I'm claiming it. Nicoleisms. Yeah, someone recently, a coach friend of mine, recently asked me what I believe is one of the most powerful questions I've heard. How did the world turn your strength against you? And, your desire to work hard and your ambition and your intelligence and your resiliency and how curious you are about the whole world. I mean, my goodness, how many countries have you spent extended time in?
I haven't counted, but it's at least a half a dozen or so.
Yeah. And not like a week, y'all, like quit her job and went. It's like, I am here and I am doing these things and then returned. Right. And so those are strengths. But in this system, the never ending do more, be more, buy more, system, it gets turned against us. And I'm putting myself purely in this bucket, 100%. Because I'm also ambitious. I love working hard. I love playing hard. I love doing a lot of things. I'm super curious. I love people. And in this society, nobody is ever going to tell us that's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody. There's always going to be a part of the system clamoring for more parenting, more shopping, more whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, I know myself. My post work adventures are not going to fall into the easy bucket.
No. Oh
I'm the
my
kind of
God.
person that'll go, hike the Pacific Crest Trail or ride the Divide or do
Yeah.
something. It'll be some big adventure, but yeah.
Which is you using your strength for you as opposed to the world turning it into something against you, right? Yeah, when you told me about those areas that you guys used to climb at, and I was like, "Oh, that sounds like fun," because my daughter loves climbing. Her word of the
Okay.
year last year was climber, and so I was looking at, I was like, "What does this woman do for fun?" God bless her.
I told my husband the other day, this is a little bit of a tangent, if that's okay to go on a tangent.
Let's go.
Um, so for I married a rock climber, and for years he no vacation was worthy unless it involved climbing. So I did go on some of those international trips early on by myself because it didn't involve climbing, so he wouldn't come. But anyway, we climbed Mount Whitney, which is the highest peak in the lower 48,
Oh my gosh.
via a technical rock route for our honeymoon. So our 25th anniversary is coming up, and we live right below Long's Peak. And so I told him, I said, "Oh, by the way, this is what we're doing for our 25th anniversary. We're going to go climb this technical route on Long's Peak. So start prepping now. You got, a year and a half to get ready." He was a little taken aback, but he's come around.
Oh my God, I'm claiming that as an Erinism right there. That's an Erinism. All right, let's go. The decision's made. Get ready. We're having fun. Very cool. I mean, you must have had some incredible brave role models, like people that you looked up to who like inspired you to be so fierce and determined. And if your husband isn't going to travel with you, you're still going to travel.
I think my mom set the tone for that very early on. So when I was 9 and we lived here in Colorado at the time, she took me and my sister and her best friend, and her best friend was also a single mom. So there, the other mom's son was maybe a year or two older than me. He was 10 or 11. Put us all in a Volkswagen bus that was painted red. They added their own custom dolphins to the sides of it. And we drove from Manitou to the tip of the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico. And so they checked us out of school. We had homework packets. We had to sit around and do our spelling and our math packets and stuff. But we took 3 or 4 months to go on this trip, and it was awesome. And that did set the tone for adventure travel at a young age. And young women doing it on their own with their kids.
Wow.
So,
How long did it take you to get down there and come back up generally? Like, do you?
we were on the road for about three months or so. I know that we left in the middle of the school year, and I know that we got back in time that I had to do a little presentation to my 3rd grade class on this is where I've been, this is what I learned. Here's some pictures of some runes and some, different things. Yeah. So that set the tone, I think.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. And then my girlfriend and I, a year and a half or so after we graduated from college, we're like, okay, we're going to ride our bikes, as far south as we can get. So we started in San Diego. We made it to Acapulco before she had to turn around and go back to work. But it was just okay, we're off on this adventure.
Oh my God. Wait. Bikes. What do you mean? What kind of bike? I need, is it motored? Does it have a motor?
No, bicycle.
A pedal? A pedal bicycle?
And I still own the bike. It's my around town bike. I just use it for running errands now.
It took you to Acapulco?
Mm-hmm.
That's so badass.
Yeah. And that, it's I can remember so many times on that trip where Mexico, especially Mexico in the early 90s, has this culture of machismo, right? And so you always end up in towns, and the guys always want to come talk to you. You're a couple of young 20-something gals, and they'd be like, "What are you doing this alone?" And we'd be like, "We're not doing it alone."
Erin, how dare you count a woman as a full and complete?
But that was another very sort of life affirming and personality affirming time of my young adulthood, I think.
Yeah.
Being on that adventure.
You just said life affirming, personality affirming. Damn. That's a new definition of brave. What is brave? Making choices that are for you, life affirming and personality affirming. I mean, I applaud you and your pedal bike. Go you. My butt hurts thinking about it. Oh, wow. Oh, man. This has been such an amazing conversation. Is there anything that we missed that you want to add?
I mean, I think I have had to sort of go around, and I've made references to circular thinking and stuff. And I think that's because, to me, I feel like I need this professional break for a little while, but I also need to let myself know that, hey, maybe it's not a permanent thing, right? Like I can take a break for a couple of years. I can go on another big bike adventure or whatever it is that I choose to do during that time. And then if I get re-inspired or reinvigorated to do something that's more of a traditional working role, that I can focus on that again. And that's just been a challenge for me personally, I guess, to come to terms with that, to accept that, to not think that if I walk away from work now that it's this big permanent thing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much for adding that because I think a lot of us feel that way. That if we make a decision, that decision is forever.
Yeah. And
And
I used to be able to make big decisions like that easier when I was younger. And then, you go
mhm.
through this phase of life where you have to be very responsible, or at least, that's how I chose to approach those parenting years, right? It was
Yeah.
like, be
Yeah.
responsible, own the
Yeah.
houses, have the health insurance, be that stable
Yeah.
thing for your kids. Um, I mean, sometimes I go, oh my God, I never took my kids on any of those like big adventures that my mom took me on, right? But
Yeah.
hopefully we've had adventures in
Um,
our own way that
yeah. Yeah, I know the stories and I'm like, so I hear you that you were not in a dolphin painted VW bug for 3 months, but your kids have definitely had adventures.
yeah.
And
So
it's different times and it's
so
different health situations and it's different structure, like
yeah.
for sure. Yeah. Yeah, your kids have had a lot of adventures.
Yep. Yeah. So I don't know, part of it is just accepting being an older, mature person.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think during the time that we worked together, didn't I have my Erin Fest for my 50th birthday?
I think that you did. Yeah, because
Yeah, I
we were
think
having
so.
yeah, I think so.
No, we didn't. It was the year before. So maybe I just told you about
You
it.
told me a lot about it because I
I
was like,
told you
I should
about
do
it.
something for
Yeah,
42. And then
yeah,
I was like, no, I'm not doing anything for 42.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that's
Huh.
like, at least in our society, right? Like getting to these milestone birthdays, they come with some mental baggage sometimes, but
Hmm.
I just turned it into a party. And now I'm like,
Yes.
you know,
But I wonder if that's also why the response of like, oh, you want a promotion? No, you have to wait. Why it was so clear and present for you that that wasn't going to be your option. Because I know for me, and my oldest client so far was in her early 70s. And I know for me, the older that I get, the less willing I am for anybody else to dictate
yeah,
my timeline. Like your waiting is fine. You do you, but I'm
right,
headed to
right.
where I'm headed. And
Yeah,
I think that
no,
that's one of the most beautiful things, other than like not being dead, the most beautiful things about being older.
I agree. Like you get to a certain point where like you don't have to be as concerned about what other people think, or you set your own agenda. And
Yeah.
yeah, I like it. I
Yes,
like
I
it.
agree. There was this, I can't remember how old I was, but I know the coach I was working with at the time, and I was really struggling. And he invited me to make a list of people I wanted to dislike me. I was like, no one, everyone has to love me. If the whole universe does not love me, I'm a horrible person. He's like, okay, let's do this another way. If someone was talking well about you, like, yeah, she's on our team, she's just like us, who who would that be where you would feel bad? Like, oh, I don't want to be like that. Right. And I think that's also one of the gifts of getting older is
Yeah.
I don't have to dislike that person, but just not want to please them and jump through hoops and force myself to live because I live in phases just like you. Right. I look back on my career and I'm like, there are times when I mean, all I did was work. My now husband almost dumped my popo because he was like, nah, lady,
Yeah.
enough,
Well,
right?
And I think, I mean, I am sort of in a traditionally non-feminine area of professional, right? Like I'm in IT. Before that, I mean, I've always been in science or
Yeah.
IT. And I've never felt like I need people to like me. I
Yeah.
want them to respect me, and I focus on that more.
Mm.
And it was very helpful when I was in charge of all the internal audit stuff, because
Oh my God. Yes.
like you can put pressure on people and just be like, this is the way it is. You do this stuff, and like,
Yeah.
you know,
Brilliant audit. Oh my God. Ah, chills up and down my back. I love all you auditors out there. I know I have at least three auditors who regularly listen to this podcast. I adore you. Thank you for being in the world and thank you for not being me so that I can go do my talkity talk stuff. All righty. Erin,
yeah,
per usual, laughed so hard. Thank you so much for your generosity. It's one of the things that always comes up into mind for me is how incredibly generous you are with your thoughts and your vulnerability. And you just showed up again this way. And thank you for surprising me with the dolphin painted van. I didn't know that
yeah,
that had happened. Oh, so can people connect with you on LinkedIn?
yep.
All right.
LinkedIn is fine. I'm pretty sure. Well, yeah, Erin O'Leary should probably find me.
And we will link to it in the show note as
Yeah,
well. Yeah.
yeah,
So
okay.
So definitely connect with Erin. If you are in Colorado, you are a lucky person because we're both here. So until next week, thanks for listening and brave it up. Hey, before you go, if you find the brave concepts I share in this podcast useful and you want personal, in-depth support to reach your brave goals, I invite you to apply for my 6-month one-on-one Build Your Brave coaching package. I coach you and I teach you everything you need to know to get clear, get going, and become your brave you. Imagine you and me together for 6 months, building your bravery so that no matter your goal, no matter where you're starting, we celebrate your results. You will stress less, you will work less, and you will earn a lot more. Go to tricksteinbach.com and schedule your consultation. Till next week, brave it up.